Okay, I've been asked to comment on the text that was written by Ramana, so they say. Um, Now, understand some of these texts, when they get translated into English, it may lose something, okay? So let's see what it says. I haven't read this text before, so we'll see where it's going. Um, Number one, by the law or will of the Creator, the fruits of actions are realized. How is action then supreme? It's not, it's inert. Okay. So, actions are not going to get you somewhere. Okay. Number two, the results of actions are impermanent and pass away, yet their seeds form an ocean of karma, which becomes a barrier in the progress of a seeker. Okay? Your actions aren't going to get you to the truth realization, but your actions can cause karma. Okay? Karma is, you understand why karma exists if you get to realization and you understand you are fully within that consciousness of the divine is, then you understand why karma has to exist, why it is. Okay. Number three, work which is performed as an offering to the Almighty and done without any expectation of the fruits thereof helps in purification of the mind and thereby leads one to liberation or realization. Well, it's not going to take you the whole way there. That comes through meditation, introspection. But it can help if you're not looking for ego gratification. That's basically what it's saying. If you're doing something to get ego gratification, to get pats on the back, like Trump does nothing unless it's going to get him pats on the back, okay? Or money or pats on the back, okay? If you're doing it with any of those intentions, it's worthless, okay? If you do it as a natural outcome, as, this is what the divine does, it gives all these fruits of benefit. If you were doing it just as a matter of course for that, then okay, it can aid in your journey somewhat. Okay. Among the actions performed by the body, voice, and mind, puja, just the worshiping, japa, which is the chanting of the name of Now, understand, this is written for Hindus where they're doing japa, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So they have a japa that they do. Now, if you're doing just japa without any intention, again, it's useless. Or ritualistic worship, you're reading these texts and doing it mindlessly, not going to benefit too much. And contemplation, inner meditation, each is superior to the other in ascending order. Okay, so yeah, if you're doing contemplation meditation, it's superior to just be doing these externalized things. Okay. Number 5, worshiping any of the 8 forms, thinking they are all forms of God, is good worship, puja of God. Okay, like I've tried to explain, there are more than 8 forms. There are lots and lots of different forms of, aspects of divine is. Each one is an energetic, different energetic happening. Like you have Kali, you have Shiva, you have, there are so many in the pantheon. Now, Christians, before you say we don't have that, yes, we do. There are 135 different aspects of God in the Bible. Jehovah Jireh, the provider. There are so many of those as well. Now, if each one of those had a different statue relegated to reminding you of that aspect, you'd have as many gods as the Hindu pantheon. Okay? But they're all just single aspects, energy signatures of one part of that dynamic. Okay? They're not all each separate. They're all, if you understand, everything comes from the divine is. Everything is imbued with one singular energetic source. So just like you have a prism that will divide up the light into different colors, the different colors aren't standing on their own. They all come from a single source. Okay? The other way I explain it is if you have a lampshade, you poke holes in it, it'll look like each one has an individual light. Well, if each one of those individual lights was, decided to have ego and thinking it was separate, the path is about looking and going deeper to find it all comes from a single source. Okay, that's it in a nutshell. Okay. Let's see. Where are we at here? Oh, okay. Singing the Lord's praises is good, but better than that is loud chanting of japa, while superior to loud chanting is soft japa. However, best of all is silent mental japa. Okay. Again, it's contemplating it. You can sit there and be a parrot and mouth words all day and get nothing. If you are mentally dissecting it, looking at it, feeling it, getting in touch with it, then yes, that's far superior. You could teach a parrot to say the names. Doesn't mean anything. If you're contemplating the different aspects of it, then you go deeper. That's what it is, okay? Like an unbroken flow of oil or a stream of water, continuous meditation is better than that which is interrupted. Okay. Meditation. People think that I sit there, they close their eyes, they sit in this posture, and they meditate. Okay, they spend what? People ask me, how long should I meditate? Well, there's many forms of meditation. There's an open-eye meditation too. If you are doing your work with singular concentration, it can become a meditation. Okay? So unbroken meditation is the best. And when you get to realization, the mind is totally still. What is the object of meditation? To still the mind. Well, then you're in constant meditation without meditating. It is simply part of the being at that point. Okay? So let's go forward. Meditation without duality, that is meditating as I am, the divine is, I am he, is superior to meditation which assumes the separation between the devotee, the bhakta, and the beloved Lord. Okay, well, now I have to say something here. If you're meditating on I am, the divine is, I am, and you're doing it out of ego, okay, that's not what's being talked about here. And that's what happens. They translate these things and then people get a wrong idea and say, I'm God, I'm God, I'm God, I'm God. And they just build up ego more. Okay? So that's not what's being said here. You have to be to a certain area of understanding that ego is not it. Okay? Ego is that feeling of that separation into being, a separate entity, something seeking God, something separate from God. Okay? But if you're thinking that separate ego is God, then you're in a wrong thing. Okay? So let's continue forward. A state of void, free from thought, is gradually attained, making abidance in the background state of I am complete. This is supreme devotion. Yeah, it's what I said, in the end. And as you're going on the path, the mind stills more and more. Okay, you get moments of that stilling, and then it reappears and stilling and reappears and stilling. That quietude. Okay, eventually, that's all that remains, that quietude. It's permanent, unchanging. So then it is said to be in a state of meditation without meditating. It just simply is your consciousness now. The consciousness that remains is, now you hear these ones, and this is one thing that drives me crazy. These satsang sellers go, oh, don't worry about the thoughts, just ignore those. I realize, just ignore those. That's all you have to do. No, the mind stills. There is no more running thought. Okay? If they are telling you, oh yes, I just don't pay attention, I ignore that, that's all. They're not a realized being. I don't care how much they want to try to read Advaita and talk in a soft-spoken voice and do all these manipulations. It is not realization. Pure, simple, clear, bottom line. People will tell me, it's impossible, you can't be without thought, you can't be without running thought. I'm telling you, yes, you can. It is possible. It is realistic. Yes. Okay? Consciousness is not based on running thoughts. Okay? So let's continue forward. Fixing the mind in the heart is true karma action, true devotion, true action of yoga. Yoga means the word I'm looking for now. Yoked. Okay, yoked. Yoga and Gyan, knowledge. Okay. So, this is when I work with my students, their attention is supposed to be always in the heart center. Now, spiritual heart is here. Okay. When you point to yourself, you always point right there. You point there. I don't care if you're right-handed, left-handed, you point to who you are, you point there. That's the spiritual heart. Okay. So, if your mind is immersed in the heart, that's where you start, that's where you end. Okay, the heart. You're not consciousness on the third eye. People want to try to focus on the third eye. Don't focus on the third eye, you focus on the spiritual heart. There's a reason for it. Okay? Through breath control, the movement of the mind is contained just as a bird is restrained when caught in a net. Okay. Well, one of the first things I give my students is a correct breath, balanced breath. It's called a balanced breath. And it does help to still the mind. It helps to focus. It helps to keep, when Kundalini awakens, it helps to keep it in balanced breath. This fire breath, leave it alone. Leave it alone. They teach us fire breath. And if things are out of balance, you're really going to throw yourself out of balance. So don't do that, please. 12. The mind and pranas, which carry out various thought processes and actions within the body, emerge from one common source. Okay. Yeah, everything comes from divine is, consciousness. Okay. It allows you to have these experiences, to explore, it all comes from single source of energy, divine is, divine life. Okay. Mind control can be achieved through two modes, either through absorption, abeyance, or through complete destruction. In the case of the first mode, the mind emerges again as it's merely absorbed in the void and hence temporarily held in abeyance. In contrast, through the second mode, the mind is destroyed. It can never emerge again. Exactly. This is what I keep saying. In realization, everything deconstructs, and that mind is quietude. It's in direct cognition. Okay? People do meditation and they have a nirvikalpa samadhi. Okay? For a time, the mind is submerged. But they come out of meditation and then their mind starts, they want to start trying to analyze something, what happened, the mind starts again. And then they're back in the separation of dualistic ideology again. Okay. When mind is held in suspension through breath control, it must then be completely destroyed through one pointed attention to that one reality. Again, you stay submerged in the heart. When there is that death before death, there is a deconstruction of ego, and the only thing that exists at that point is the divine is. You have never existed. Now, if that's not a mind bender, to find out you've never existed and all the trauma you've gathered and collected is null and void, okay, it can be a shock, to say the least. But it's totally normal, okay? That's why they say, I am that I am. I have never, the body, the form, the meism has never existed. It was a dream. It was a dream. That's it. Okay. A play at the moment. But in reality, I am this divine is, this unchanging divine is. Okay. And it doesn't come back something to prop up ego. It's not saying the ego is a divine is. There is no more ego. There is no more attention that I am this form. I am a body. I am separate. I am, that's why there is no more suffering. Doesn't mean there's not pain. Doesn't mean the body doesn't feel pain and all of that stuff. Yes, there's pain, there's emotion, there's all of that, but it's momentary. There is no mental drama going with it. So it's momentary. And the mind is in stillness. Okay? It's like throwing a pebble into a lake and you see ripples for a few seconds and then it's back to stillness. Okay, it's like that. Okay, it's like that. So next, what action remains for an exalted yogi whose mind has been completely destroyed and who is ever established in the self? What action remains? Well, there's nothing that one has to do at that point. Okay, one is always immersed in the divine is. It's never occluded, never covered over anymore. So that's why you go and you can become in the play of God. You go from suffering, seeking, to liberation, moksha, liberated being, and you play of God. That's why I'm doing tarot. I'm doing things that are fun. Okay? It's the play of God. It's the play. Okay? So continuing forward. When attention is withdrawn from objects and focused exclusively on the self-truth is revealed. Okay, the self, one continues to go into this self, not the meism, not the ego, but the divine is, that spark of energy which gives you life. It's the life of all life and the death of all death. Okay. When one inquires what is the mind, he finds out there is no mind. This is direct path to reality. Okay? Mind is nothing but a bundle of thoughts. These thoughts depend upon the I thought alone. Hence, the mind is nothing but this I thought. Ego, separation, creates this running ideology of searching and wanting to have facts and figures and this and that. Okay? All that goes. It goes. Okay? It goes. So ask the question, from where does this I thought arise? On inquiring, the I thought will vanish. This is self-inquiry. Now, I tell people to question, instead of that, what is this I? I tell them to question, basically, what is this I? Instead of who am I? Who am I sets up again this more of ego separation. What is this I? Goes deeper than that to look. That's why I said, the writing that I have that talks about this, looking and seeing thought. Thought creates emotion. Emotion creates this feeling in the body form, and then one takes it to be real. It's a round robin. If you watch, where do thoughts come and go? Things only have reality while that thought is in place. When it's out of mind, where did it go? So where is the reality in that? A thought cannot stand out there on its own anywhere. Okay? There has to be a connection to it and fueling it with this energy. Okay? So when the I thought or ego is destroyed, the real I springs forth on its own in the spiritual heart and shines as I in all its fullness. And this unbroken, continuous I is the real I, as the I thought ego disappears and dissolves as in deep sleep. Okay, there is no I thought. Immediately after realization, one comes out and you cannot say I, because that I indicates this ego form. And it's not that one's trying to be, I don't know, when it happened, it was this one. Couldn't say I. It took about 5 years to be able to say I and talk in the language of duality, dualistic. But when you say this one, people say, what do you mean this one? So you're communicating with people that are still in minds of duality. So you have to say I, me, this, But the consciousness no longer has that identification. Here the identification is this one. The divine is. Okay, fuels everything. The life of all life, the death of all death. Okay? That awakens, and that is the reality of that stilled consciousness. Okay. Oop. Hold on a minute. I gotta plug in the computer. It's about to go down. It needs to have its own source of energy or we're going to be out of luck here. So, excuse. Okay. This real I is the only truth of reality. Neither the body, nor the senses, nor the vital air, nor breath, nor intellect, nor ignorance may be considered real, as they're all gross, inert, insentient, and illusory. Is there any other thing apart from consciousness that illumines existence? Indeed, existence itself is consciousness, and consciousness is I am. Everything, it's like I said, that light bulb, everything comes from that light bulb. Is in essence that light bulb. Okay? No matter how much it may think that's a separate light, is a separate existence, it's not. Okay? Between the jiva, the individual, and Ishvara unity, there is a difference only with respect to the body and the intellect, gross and subtle bodies. But from the standpoint of true nature, absolute reality alone is. Okay? When the various conditionings of body, mind, and identifications with name and form are shed, the self is realized. The vision of the Lord as self is true self-realization. It's like I said, everything deconstructs into that divine is. You know, here what happened, I sat down for meditation by the banks of the Ganges. All of a sudden this great fear arose, a chasm. I knew I'd done everything I could do, and you were feeling you didn't know if you were going to be, if you were going to absolutely cease to exist, or if you were going to be taken over by some entity, demon, whatever. You didn't know what was going to happen, just this absolute fear hit. And knowing that everything had been done that could be done, there was just at that moment that surrender of, on the altar of truth I lay myself. That was literally within the mind here. On the altar of truth I lay myself and let go completely. Surrendered totally, 100%. And the next second, there was no world, no me, no something seen with the eyes. There was no physicality. There was simply that all-consuming awareness and consciousness of the divine is. Whole, complete, unchanging, eternal. Okay? The source. Okay? The source that gave that body life. Okay? But one is not that body. Okay? One is that divine is. That's all there is within the universe. The rest of it is illusory. Illusory, comes and goes. Okay? But again, that's why you understand karma, because this divine is, and why you know that shadow substance can never win. Evil can never win. Okay? The divine is perfection. Okay? Perfection. And it is unchanging. Always as it is. Okay? and you understand evil, lies, all of these things start with some seed of truth somewhere, and then it starts pulling away from the light. It becomes a shadow. Shadow becomes darker. Okay? It's pulling away from where that energy is, that power source. Okay? So all of these things are immediately impressed. Boom. It's just, you've gone from one existence, one set of ideas, one set of cognitions, belief systems, and the next second they're wiped clean as if they never existed. And you see the truth behind what is the reality of the universe. Okay? What is this divine is? Okay? It's without form. When it starts moving, and then it how do I want to say, not suppresses itself, but it minimizes. It takes and breaks apart into little pieces, okay, that go off to have some adventure, okay. But it's never separate from that divine is. It becomes a pearl, okay. You have the divine is, which is the thread of life. It becomes a pearl for that second, okay. And then the pearl dismantles and becomes again the thread, okay. So I hope that's not more confusing, but yeah. Is there any other thing apart from consciousness that illumines existence? Existence itself is consciousness. Everything has consciousness. A rock has consciousness. Animals, it doesn't matter what you see, it all comes from the same divine is. Okay? Between the jiva individual and unity, there's only difference in respect to the body and the intellect, but the absolute reality alone is. Yeah. When the various conditionings of body, mind, and identifications with name and form are shed, the self is realized. Vision of the Lord as self is true self-realization. Since the self is non-dual, establishment once in the self alone is the vision of the self, and that alone is abidance in the self. That's all one sees. That's all one knows at that point. Okay? Consciousness transcends all dualities and is devoid of the thought of knowledge as well as the thought of ignorance. Is there any knowledge other than self-awareness to know the self? That's what I said. All these ideations that the meism wants to gather and collect are as nothing. They mean nothing. They're only of importance in the world of duality. Okay? But in the world of the eternal, they mean nothing. Okay? So continuing forward. What is the nature of me, the self? Thus inquiring the self as indestructible, unborn, perfect, and the nature of consciousness and bliss. The individual who's realized the divine state, his own real nature, gains supreme happiness, bliss beyond bondage, and freedom here in this very world. Self-inquiry devoid of ego is a great penance. Realize this truth articulated by Sri Ramana. So when when you are contemplating this, I say, what is this I, rather than who am I? Because who am I? People want to break down, I'm mind, I'm thought, I'm body, I'm this. No, What is this I? What is comprising it? You're none of those things. It's, again, if you watch the mind and you see how thoughts come and how thoughts go, how thoughts create an emotion, how emotions affect the body and form, which then again creates more thoughts. Then you'll start breaking through. But it takes stilling, it takes meditation, it takes observance and questioning. Netty, netty, not this, it's not this, it's not this, it's not this, it's not this. Netty, netty, not this, not this, not this. Okay? So one continues to go and question until these are broken through. Okay? So I hope that's helped to explain this text by Ramana. Okay? Like I said, it's difficult to try to explain to people that are in minds of duality what it is to be in non-dual consciousness. You're in mind. In realization, you're in consciousness. Okay? People go, well, and I've had people fight against, this on many times. You have to have mind. You have to think. You can't do anything if you're not going to be thinking you're drooling on yourself and all these ridiculous things. Well, I keep saying these ridiculous things because they're caught in mind and they can't imagine what it is to not be in mind, in direct consciousness, direct awareness. Okay? That's why I say, when people say my guides are speaking, my guides are talking, my guides are, and they're getting it filtered through mind, I don't have that mind spin. So mine is, things here are direct consciousness. It's a different, the way it operates is different. Okay? It's just different. Things come here in just through awareness. Okay? So I hope that's helped you to understand anyway a little bit better. I don't talk a lot about this because people think you're trying to put on airs or you're trying to, self-realization is nothing more than coming to the reality of existence. That's it. What I am, you are. It's not that, self-realization makes you higher or something. Everybody has the same amount of the divine is within them. The only difference is there's awareness of it or there's not. Okay, that's all. Okay? One is still in suffering, still in these ideologies, or that has been transcended into that stillness. Okay? Into that stillness. And so things here are more transitory. Okay? If something happens here, doesn't mean in that second it's not felt. It's felt, it's experienced in its primal state. But then that's it. It's gone. Secondary, it's gone. So the reality here is 180 degrees away from the reality I had before realization. Before it, the mind was caught up, it was spinning, it was woe is me, the drama, the fear-based stuff, PTSD, flashbacks, fear-based, all of that drama was going on. And then realization, and it's like, like walking through through a doorway into a whole different universe, a whole different state of consciousness. The mind has ended and now it's in direct consciousness. Okay? Different thing. Okay? So anyway, I hope that's answered your question. And love and light. Continue your journey. We're all, doing the journey. Um, I can tell you also, when you've been seeking for realization, for truth, for God, for liberation for lifetimes, and I mean lifetimes, um, when all of a sudden it hits, it's like hitting a brick wall. Well, now what? Because your whole reason for being up to that point was seeking, looking. So when you had multitude of lifetimes seeking and all of a sudden you find it, it's like hitting a brick wall going, well, now what? It takes a while to shift into that point of what remains now is play and enjoy, okay? To enjoy it, okay? Just be in the moment and enjoy. Okay. So yes, I get a lot of, if you realize being what you're doing too, because it's fun, because I enjoy it. Okay. They don't get that. Okay. They don't get that. The rest is the play of God. Why did Krishna go around playing a flute? Because he enjoyed it. Same reason I play the flute. I enjoy it. It's enjoyed. Okay. And through the flute, here it brings quiet and calm to others because that consciousness is able to be directed through that music, okay? That's it. So anyway, I'm going to leave this here. Much love and light to everyone. Please don't forget to mask up. We may be all that divine is eternal in nature, but here on this plane of existence came to explore, came to experience, okay? So hopefully we don't want to experience COVID, okay? Gasping for breath. Hopefully we pick a better thing to explore and enjoy than something like that, okay? So love and light, mask up, be safe. Isn't that right, Mr. Max? See, he can tell when I'm done talking. Then he's here and saying, it's time now. It's time to go ride the car. Yes. Yes. I'm going to leave this here.